Hello, beautiful souls. It's a beautiful day in the natural world. My name is Farah, and I like to make videos about how the feeling of the sacredness of nature and life itself within us supports and nourishes us to feel everything else we need to feel in our human experience to evolve, expand, and flourish. So today we're talking about seasons. Have you ever found yourself in a life situation where you have prepared yourself to bring forth something into the world that really matters to you? And so you did your research, and you talked to wise people, you collected all your materials, you studied hard, you explored, you got experience, and then you start creating something, and it's just not coming together. It's just not coming together, or it does come together and it's just not how you imagined that it would be. And I've definitely had this experience in my own life, and in those moments I have found that parts of me can feel sort of frustrated, sort of wondering what's missing. And there we go. And in those moments, I'm so grateful to come out into the natural world and to be reminded of the forces beyond me that are just not in my control, and specifically regarding that things just have their season in life, and you could have everything that you need. If you're trying to grow something, right, you could have all the materials and the ingredients, but if you try to grow it in winter, it's just not going to grow. It's just not going to grow. It's just not the right season. There are elements, there are forces beyond that sort of need to be in place to allow something to actually flourish, to come to life. And so, sometimes I find myself asking, well, what do I do during this time where it's just not the right season? And how can I support, myself or these different parts of me to sort of hang in there, so to speak, for the right season? And I'd say two things come up for me as I just sort of wander around this question. The first is trust in the process of life itself. I don't know if you've had this experience where you go through this process of sort of things not landing in the way that you would have hoped, and then like weeks later or months later or even years later, those elements that were beyond your control, or those things that you needed that you didn't even know that you needed, suddenly appear, and you become aware that there were elements, there were ingredients, and maybe it was information, maybe it was people you were meant to meet, maybe it was a different environment. Some beautiful, harmonious process in the universe comes together, and suddenly everything just falls into place. And there's just this great appreciation for the beauty of the process of life, and this trust in, when it's the right season, it's just going to happen. And the funny thing is, in those moments when it is the right season and it's just going to happen, there seem to be no obstacles. So all of those elements that you had prepared for, that you were maybe seeing as obstacles, I've definitely had that experience in myself where I'm like preparing for all of the things that I think are the obstacles or the ingredients that I think are required. It turns out those things were not necessarily the things that were essential. They were just things that, the mind thought that were essential. And so I'd say that's the first way, or the first thing that's I find really supportive, is just that trust in the process of life, and just like the number of times that I've just witnessed that process of life sort of coming through for myself and for others. And the second sort of something to lean on has been this sort of persistence. This sort of persistence in understanding that those elements that emerged in their due season, they emerged from the sort of conviction that I had to the calling inside me that was maybe a call to something that beyond me, something that just felt like important to bring into the world, not for any other reason than just that, to be like, this is just something that like needs to be out there. And that sort of conviction supported me to keep going, to keep persisting, knowing that in that process of persistence, the imagined or the unimaginable ingredients would emerge. And that is sort of like the nature of life, right? Ultimately, the ingredients of the next season, all of the elements of spring, they will come. They will come because nature persists in doing what it does until the right season shows us what else might have been missing, or the other ingredients that needed to be there, right? Whether it, out here, whether it's like temperature or air pressure, and in our own lives, for me it might have been just like those things I'd mentioned, information I didn't have access to, or people I just hadn't met yet, or something inside myself that I had not yet come to know. And so this trust in the process of life itself, and this knowing that the unimaginable ingredients emerge over time with persistence in participating in the process of life itself. I find those to be really supportive in those moments where I'm wondering why something isn't happening the way that something in my mind imagined that it would be. And I'm so grateful to the natural world for offering this reflection of the beauty and the security and the trust in the processes of life itself, and how things come to us just at the moment of readiness, just in the right season. And when it is the right season, there are no obstacles. The elements that we might have imagined were obstacles when we began exploring, began building. When it's the right season, our challenges are met with the skills that we developed through persisting in the participation with life itself. And so I wish this for you. I wish this trust in the process of life, this ongoing participation in the process of life and the welcoming of whatever season you might be in right now, knowing that the right season will arrive at exactly the moment of readiness.